Good evening. In response to my bad arguments video, I've received a couple more bad arguments from the prime offenders. This right here, how is pimping hookers immoral? This isn't a bad argument. This is just to show you how stupid this guy is. That's really all it is. First of all, if you look at the transcript, I say James Freeman's bad argument was insinuating that being a cop was immoral, never proving it, just insinuating it, in his little, well, I'm going to pretend that I did an immoral job to see how the cop reacts. And this is the video from yesterday where I have James Freeman's video up on the screen, and this green writing is James Freeman's writing. James Freeman wrote this. James Freeman said that this is something the cop might believe is immoral for money. It was James Freeman's argument, James Freeman's insinuation. I didn't make any moral judgment on it. So that's the level of stupid that I'm dealing with here. And then he goes on, this is his actual argument. He says Merb is an idiot. Correct that no one at Nuremberg was charged with following orders. Well, so I was correct, okay? He says, however, following orders was the most common Nazi defense, just like the cops. Cops aren't on trial for committing war crimes. You're lazily trying to compare cops. This was your argument yesterday. You were the jackass who was, here we go. This is his argument. You're trying to compare cops to Nazis because Nazis are bad, and if I can compare cops to Nazis, you're going to think cops are bad too. Except, cops aren't Nazis. And the only Nazis who had to use the I'm just following orders defense were those Nazis who were charged with war crimes. Cops are not being charged with war crimes. I don't know of any cop who has used following orders as a defense. Following orders is not a justification in our system of laws. There is no following orders defense in state law that I am aware of for any state. If you could point to one state that uses following orders as a justification or defense to a crime, I would love to hear it. But cops use attorneys to conduct their defenses. And attorneys will use what are called justifications or defenses to crimes as their defense. So, no, it is not. You're retarded, and you're following up one bad argument with an equally bad argument. And if you have to start by saying I'm an idiot and then you say I'm correct, I mean, that just goes to show how disingenuous you're being. Obviously, I'm not an idiot. I was correct. I still am correct. And you're backpedaling furiously because you got called out on your stupid Nazi comparison. The second offender was Michael Lucas. Revenue-driven policing. It's a problem. It's okay to admit that. Well, he doubles down. Issuing citations simply to generate revenue is deeply immoral. He's basically rephrasing his initial bad argument. Now, he is clarifying that he's talking about the citations for speeding, I'm assuming, and not just being a police officer. So that's great. That is one clarification. But now he throws in two assertions that are completely unsupported. Number one, he is throwing out the assertion that the cops are doing this simply to generate revenue. That is an unsupported assertion. Again, you'd have to explain away why not all cops are out there giving traffic tickets. They have the cops who do the traffic patrols, and then they have all the other cops who do all the other issues. And the cops who do the traffic patrols, they don't always issue tickets. A lot of times they'll issue warnings. They don't pull everyone over for every. I know I speed past cops all the time, exceeding the posted speed limit. I don't do it stupidly, but I do it, and I don't get a ticket for it. They're obviously not out there simply to generate revenue. There is way too much data out there to suggest that they're doing it simply to generate revenue. So it's an unsupported assertion. And then another unsupported assertion is saying that it's deeply immoral. No, it's not necessarily deeply immoral. I mean, it might be deeply immoral for cops to lie about citations, to issue false citations simply to generate revenue. Sure, I would agree with that, but issuing citations simply to generate revenue is not necessarily deeply immoral. Issuing a citation, knowing that the end result of that citation is going to be a fine, which you will call generating revenue because you're a sovereign citizen, just like Freeman is, who likes to change words to mean different things. I'm not being arrested. I'm being kidnapped. You know, I'm not paying a fine. I'm generating revenue for the city. If you've actually committed the infraction or whatever ticketable offense, and they're issuing you a legitimate ticket, there is nothing wrong with that. Even if they're issuing you a ticket that isn't legitimate, but the officer believes there's probable cause that you've committed that violation, then it's still a legitimate issue. And that's what the court's there to decide. Remember, it is the legislature that determined that what the ticket is being issued for is a ticketable offense, and it's the legislature that determined the amount of the fine for that ticket. He continues on, a person that knowingly remains in an occupation that requires him to do this. Well, again, we don't know that it requires him to do it. You haven't proven that, and in fact, all the evidence suggests the opposite. But he asserts that it makes the person who does it immoral. And again, citation needed. But then it gets better. He says, and what's left after corporal punishment and incarceration isn't just fines, it's community service. But it's not about health or safety or health of the community. It's about money. Well, I hate to break this to you, Cupcake, but community service is essentially fungible with money. I don't want to mow my yard. I pay somebody to do it. They give me their time, they give me their service, and in exchange, I give them money. Other people don't want to do their own legal work. So they give me money, I give them my time, and I generate whatever legal work they need done. Money and service are fungible. If people aren't out there picking up litter on the sides of the roads and doing things like that as community service, then the state or the city or the county or whoever, whatever government body it would be, would have to pay someone to do that. Or whatever other community service that is being required. If it's not being generated by a punishment, then it's going to be generated by money. And quite honestly, I would rather pay someone to do it than to have people do it as community service, because I have seen people picking up litter on the sides of the road as community service, and they do a really shitty job of it. But I've also seen the guys who do my lawn come out and they whoop, get it done real quick, real nice, because they get paid to do it. So that is a stupid argument. You would just essentially, like, I can actually quantify, like a $300 fine, I could quantify that as an hour of my labor. It's that simple. Like, what would I rather do? Would I rather do 2 hours of community service or pay a $300 fine? I'll pay the $300 fine. Thank you. So it's a dumb argument. It's a bad argument. And it's doubling down on a dumb argument because, again, you haven't brought anything new to the table. You've essentially just restated your original premise that revenue-driven policing is a problem. You still haven't supported it. Thanks for watching and have a great evening.